Hey, what's going on, everybody? Philip, also known as Zawie Online here, trying to make improvements to this green screen each time I record. So last time I tried a different method with my camera, and I definitely looked a lot worse than the previous videos, but we're trying something new today. We're stacking you on books. You are on books. You are no longer just leaning up against my computer monitor. The topic of today's video, of course, we're bringing it back to the Coffin of Andy and Leyley. You guys seem to actually really like my last video, and after going back and watching it, I realized that it would probably help to get more context if I actually played the game. Shall we? Let me get my, Dude, I didn't have anything ready for today's stream, did I? And after making the video and doing research on it, I was actually interested because I've been hearing good things about the game itself. So today's video, I played the Coffin and Leyley, and here's my thoughts. I should probably preface this video by saying there's going to be spoilers. If you're interested in playing the game and you don't want any spoilers, there actually are going to be some spoilers in this video. Not necessarily talking about every choice I made or talking about the game itself. I'm going to be just talking about the characters themselves. And I bring up a couple of points up from the game, but I don't go into great detail about them. So minor spoilers ahead. But you kind of get the gist. The characters kill people and they coexist with each other, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I will actually be referring to the two main characters as Andrew and Ashley, because Andy and Leyley were their childhood nicknames. I believe refers to their first, in the first chapter, they are stuck in an apartment, and I believe that that is what they're referring to as the Coffin of Andy and Leyley, because ever since they left that apartment later on in the game. Now, the first two chapters are what we get of the game so far, and the first chapter felt like it was pretty much comprised of sibling rivalry and paving the way for what to expect of the characters going forward, and then a couple of choices, but I think chapter 2 is more where the choices actually really matter, and I think that the game actually depends on your choices as a player, and I think chapter 2 really weighs heavy on that, and I really enjoyed that chapter a lot. Is it true? Is this an incest game? I'm just going to put it out here. No. But we're going to actually be touching back on that later. I want to actually talk about that discussion a little bit here today. But for now, I'm just going to put it off to the side. Keep that in the back of your head. No, it's not an incest game, and we're going to be talking about that later. The character dynamics between the siblings is actually a lot to take in right from the get-go, especially with somebody with no context. Looking into the game, it definitely looks like the two characters are weird. It looks like an incest game, and I get it. And it made me uncomfortable at first. When you start the game, right off the bat, you're just kind of thrown into the story of these two characters, and it doesn't pick up like as an origin. You're kind of just thrown right in the middle of things, and you get that sibling dynamic right off the bat, which for someone like me, it did kind of make me uncomfortable at first. But as the game continued, I realized that they were just simply two troubled people who grew up with linked arms. Why does it seem like Ashley always needs to be next to Andrew at all times? Now, let's just get separation anxiety right out of the way here. It's very clear separation anxiety plays a big part in these two characters, and I know that everybody who's watching this has experienced some sort of separation anxiety. Me personally, I experienced separation anxiety with my animals. I go on vacation. I left for Seattle for a weekend, and on the second day, I was like, man, I just miss my cat. Separation anxiety aside, through flashbacks, Ashley is always wanting to be at Andrew's side. So it's not something that is apparent just in the current story, but it was something that's always been a thing in the flashbacks. And later in chapter 2, we find out that mom had Andrew and Ashley very young, and actually had Andrew raise Ashley for a large portion of her childhood. It's consistently shown that both siblings are actually dependent on each other. Now, last video, I definitely touched on Ashley being dependent on Andrew because I didn't know the full context of the game. And after playing, Andrew's definitely a lot more subtle about it, but throughout the game, whenever you separate and play as Andrew, the game actually tells you when you're done and you're ready to go see Ashley. The biggest example is when you infiltrate a cultist party, and after you learn everything you need to know, the game kind of just says, hey, you miss Ashley, go see her. It's actually a really clever way for the writers of the game to kind of tell you that it's time to move on to the next part of the game. Andrew's off on his own, And you can actually get through that part of the game within a couple minutes. And with a couple of puzzles I got a little bit stuck on, it took me a good like half hour, maybe 20 minutes. And then I was back at Ashley's side and we continued the story. And that's just one of many examples in the game where your character separates themselves willingly and then gets back together willingly. I think I spilled some coffee on them. Haha. Idiot. I've got your answers. You miss Ashley. It's a symbiotic relationship at both extremes of a toxic relationship. Now, we touched on Ashley's last time, but I want to touch more on Andrew here. They make a blood pact together after they accidentally kill one of their peers. And this peer is actually a young lady who, and it's in a flashback, so they're all young. So it's a young lady who has a thing for Andrew, and Ashley doesn't like it. So they play a prank on her, accidentally kill her. Now, why is this blood pact significant? Andrew is the one who brings up the blood pact and makes Ashley do the deal, knowing that he's actually getting the better part of the deal, and this all happens right after he contemplates just murdering Ashley in cold blood. Ashley's side of the deal is that she won't tell anybody about their involvement in the murder. However, Andrew will be by Ashley's side whenever she wants him to, which is actually foreshadowed before we learn about all this in a flashback where Andrew is talking to his girlfriend and she's complaining that he's always dipping out on her to go hang out with his sister. Would you like to tie your hair up for me? Wait a second. You'll pull on it again. Chat! You're not getting horny from this. Now let's answer the question. Why or how is Andrew getting the better deal? And how did he manipulate his sister? It can be easy to miss, but his dependency on her is actually strong. He's just not as vocal about it. He actually relies on Ashley a lot to cope with accidentally killing somebody. And he actually made those decisions to harm this person to prove to Ashley that he puts her above anyone else. By making this blood pact deal, he doesn't allow her to control his life, so he can still go and see other women. Which is actually the main thing that makes her mad, and he is aware of that his sister will retaliate at anyone that's interested in him, but plays no part in stopping it. He never denies or makes excuses for his sister's behavior, and even though he won't state that to his girlfriend, he almost plays into the idea that he can have both of them at the same time, knowing both of them are fighting for his attention. Now, this actually plays into a lot of comedy of the game because you consistently find flashbacks and all these things where there's a part where Andrew goes into his dreams and his memory and he's in his ex-girlfriend's room, and if you interact with the trash bin, it's full of death threats from Ashley. Now we're back to that grand question. Is there actually incest? Like, is this relationship romanticizing incest in this game? Is this game like an incest fetish? Regardless of your standpoint on this topic, people are always going to connect their fetishes to whatever they can. And just writing like my bullet points for this script, it took me 2 seconds to find a foot fetish mod for Skyrim, and with one Google search, it took me 7 seconds to find a VRM mod for Valheim that allows you to put nude or scandalous anime women as your avatar in the game. In a game about Vikings and like how you died as a Viking, and this is kind of like your Valhalla, you have to fight your way into Valhalla type thing, and you can play as a big booty like goth girlfriend, or you can even play as Goku. Like it's you have to separate the community here. Okay, but the big question here, does the game itself condone the incest? Now, the game features many endings, depending on the choices made in the game, and I had no genuine incest in my playthrough, and had one opportunity to possibly play into it. I say that as a question because it's not exactly sure. Now, in this scene, there was 2 doors and a big sketch that was clearly drawn by child Ashley, which depicted Andrew and his girlfriend and Ashley in the background, and you could put little pieces together to put the puzzles into place. Now, you actually have a choice to put the puzzles where you want them to be. There's a heart, there's a broken heart, and like a sun. And the way I put it is I put the sun with the Ashley and Andrew. I put the broken heart with Ashley to the side of Andrew and his girlfriend, and I put the broken heart, and I put the heart on Andrew and his girlfriend, or something like that. So pretty much that opened up one door, and if you switch the hearts around to make it so Andrew and and Ashley have the heart, and the girlfriend and Andrew have the son, it opens up another door which depicts Andrew and Ashley holding hands with a heart over them, which is obviously not the one I chose. I did try to figure out how to open that door, and I'm guessing that's probably one of the choices you need to make in order to have that one ending we discussed in the last video. And if you didn't see my last video, just really quick, there's a cutscene that you can get based on your choices in the game that the demon kind of antagonistic character in the game places an image and a vision in both of the characters' heads that depicts them engaging in what you would call an incestual act, and the characters reject to it. And I'm actually going to talk about that ending again today, because after playing the game I found myself with a lot more context on the characters and their responses to that event. Obviously I touched on it in my previous video, and I'm actually going to delve a little bit deeper into that in this one here, because after playing the game and knowing the context of the characters, I was able to determine why they responded the way they did. Now, last time I just watched the video and I was able to gauge a response based on the dialogue that I witnessed in just that cutscene, but actually I would like to argue that Ashley herself also elicits a trauma response in that scene, and here's how I know. And I'm actually going to use the same example that I used before, just so I can keep spoilers to a minimum. So we know that Ashley and Andrew murder somebody their age when they were children, and in that scene following the murder, in the flashback, we get another flashback depicting Andrew completely broken in guilt, and his sister comforts him to the point where he thinks he can trust her, promising to never tell. And at this point, Andrew feels safe. He feels at home, and he knows that he finally has somebody who can trust him, and Ashley might be the only person in his entire life he can actually talk about this with. And right after doing so, she pretty much just LOL JKs him, saying like, I'm going to tell everyone what you did and ruin your life, and seemingly put the entire event over his head, completely breaking him again. And this precedes the part of the game where he makes that blood pact and manipulates her into never telling and allowing him to see other women. So he actually takes this part and pulls this back on, uses this to actually put leverage over her. So she may be able to tell anybody, but he immediately follows back with, well, if we go to prison, you're never going to see me again. They put us in boy-girl prison. And it's like, I didn't know that. And we see this struggle for power. It's partially dark. It's a dark comedy, and it makes you uncomfortable, but also you see that these characters are both bad. It doesn't ever demonstrate up front that Andrew is a bad character, but especially in my playthrough, he definitely wasn't a good guy either. And I would like to argue that this part where Ashley holds this over his head is almost the exact same response she has when they have that scene together. In that bad ending, which I talk about in my previous video, though now you can re-watch that knowing that what she's doing to her brother when she's taking jabs at him might actually be the same trauma response she does time and time again in the story, mostly after every death or traumatic event, such as murdering the apartment security, for example. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's just answer the question. Did I like the game? Yeah, I did. I actually really liked it. I'm looking forward to the rest of the story, and I would like to argue that this is actually a pretty nostalgic game, and let me tell you why. I mean, think about it. The first Telltale Walking Dead game featured a lot of similar themes in cannibalism, betrayal, and how characters deal with trauma. All of that was in the first couple of chapters, especially if you're my age. It felt like everybody I knew either had the game and played it on their Xbox 360, or they were watching like PewDiePie or Jacksepticeye or Markiplier play it. And it felt like everybody was just ready and invested for the next chapter. And we all had that exact same feeling. We had no idea where the story could go, and we all looked forward to it. I would like to close off this video about the two characters and just my thoughts on the story and stuff like that with just we have a question here for you guys. What's worse than a story going on forever and dragging out too long? I think it's a story that never gets finished, and we're all left wanting more. So please support this game and support the title, because of all the things that happened, and I talk about them in my last video, that happened to the creator of this game. I really hope that we do get to see the rest of the story of this game, not just so I can experience it, but so that somebody can get their voice heard and their story told. Thanks, guys. Well, look at you guys. You stuck around to the end. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you guys for getting me to over 100 subscribers. I think that's awesome. I've been around on this channel specifically since 2014 and have never seen this many subscribers come in such a short amount of time. Now, granted, I wasn't always making a lot of videos. It was usually like one every 3 months, if that. But now that I'm actually, following through with my passion here, I'm really appreciating the response from you guys, and I love seeing the comments from you guys. So if you could just leave a comment on your thoughts, even if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear more. And chances are I might reply, especially since we're still kind of growing here. So only it's like only 20 comments. I woke up this morning and just was responding to all of them. So I really appreciate you guys thinking about. I had a lot of fun doing this video. So if you guys want me to review any other games, I play a lot of games on my stream over at twitch.tv/Zawie. You can find the link in the description. That game, or just want to hang out with me live, you can check out the link in the description and just follow. I also post about going live on my Twitter. And thank you guys so much for supporting me again. You guys mean the world to me. Subscribe and like the video if you liked it. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.